What's up, folks? My God, what a throttling. 62-0, 35 points in the first quarter. Georgia handled business. I tweeted about this today. There are multiple signs, right, for a national title type of football team, right? A national championship contending football team, right? Got to have an explosive offense nowadays. You got to be able to put up points. That's obviously a given, right? You got to have a really good defense, or at least a passable defense. Georgia's got both of those. I think we see that, right? They have an explosive offense when fully healthy. Still aren't quite there, right? Still have some weapons that are banged up and knocked out. You have a really good defense. You're a mature football team, right? You got a loaded group of talented football players all across the board. But another one of those kind of criterias that you have to, and checkpoints and check boxes that you have to check off, or boxes that you have to check off rather, is to handle your business in football games in which you are heavily favored. Well, for 3 straight weeks now, we've seen Georgia do that. They haven't covered all 3 weeks, especially last week, but they've handled business every single time they get out there. Pitch a shutout today against a really, really bad football team from Vanderbilt. And they went about their business and handled their business. And I think in years past, you've seen a Georgia football program kind of struggle to do this, right? I think back to 2017, you drop a game. You drop a game to Auburn on the road, right? You lose by 33 points to a football team that you beat 2 weeks later. That's an example of not showing up, not handling your business. 2018, you lay an egg on the road at LSU. That's an example of not handling your business in a game in which you were favored in. 2019, we know what happened in South Carolina, or, against South Carolina at home. In 2020, you didn't show up in the first half against Florida despite all your injuries. I understand you were banged up in that football game. Well, this year, it doesn't look like that's going to be, the case at all. Looks like Georgia's going to go about handling their business. Couple of immediate takeaways from this football game before we get right into Q&A. How about Ladd McConkey? We talked about it on the live stream as if 3.5 hours of me wasn't enough. You get some more right here. We talked about it on the live stream. Ladd McConkey was a late take, a guy that wasn't really on the radar for Georgia early in that 2020 class. And then, boom, he pops, right? And everybody's like, why are we taking this little, let's call it what it is. Why are we taking this little white wide receiver from North Murray High School? What is he going to bring to the table? Well, as a redshirt freshman, he's going to bring starting caliber wide receiver play immediately as a redshirt freshman. That's a good piece of scouting and development for the University of Georgia, because I'll tell you this right now. Coming into college, he was far, 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 far from a clean prospect at the wide receiver position. He didn't play a lot of it in high school. And you also have to tip your cap to a guy like Terrence Edwards, who is still giving back to the Georgia program by developing a guy like Ladd McConkey. If you were to sit down and ask Ladd right now, what made you most prepared from your senior year to going into your first year of college, he will tell you straight up Terrence Edwards, working with Terrence. Somebody that I'm going to have to get on here soon with some reaction about how Ladd's played, early on in his football career at the University of Georgia. So hats off to that guy. Had a great game again today. And of course, Bowers. Like we know at this point what Brock Bowers is. He's special, right? Very rarely do you run across freshmen that are this special, right? And he's certainly one of those. Excited to watch him further progress throughout his career. And also excited to see what else Todd Monken can do with him. Like, what other creative stuff can he make happen? Today, we saw him get a jet sweep, like tight end jet sweeps. Yeah, that's apparently a thing now at the University of Georgia. So that's impressive to see as well. Defense pitching an absolute shutout. That's about as good as they could have played. I think this Vanderbilt football team, man, I don't know what they do. I really don't. But until it's prioritized at that university, which clearly it is not. You saw that stadium today. It is not a priority of that football, that program in that university. So until that happens, I don't think you see any type of, 10-win season like they had under James Franklin. I think I had a 9-win season under James Franklin. And that 9-win season has basically, it's going to make James Franklin's call what it is, $100 millionaire. He's going to coach, for 15, 20 years in college football and make millions and millions of dollars based off a 9-win season at Vanderbilt. It got him the Penn State job. it will ultimately roll him into his next job probably, because whatever happens, they'll be like, well, I mean, hell, he won 9 games at Vanderbilt. He must be pretty good. He's a good coach. He is, and an avid recruiter. So that's good news there. All right, I see a bunch of questions already. Let's start rattling them off right now. What is wrong with Kendrick Melton? Ask Robert Franklin. Robert, I'm going to tell you what your head coach told you in pregame, and I'll tell everyone that asks this question, I'm sticking to it because your head coach stuck to it. He's banged up, quote unquote banged up. Now, I'll tell you this. I didn't hear anything about Kendrick Melton being hurt. I was told Arian Smith, don't expect him. I was told Dominic Blaylock did not travel. Don't expect him. Darnell Tyke, don't expect him. Nothing was said to me about Kendrick Melton being hurt this week. So it came to me as a surprise. Okay. So that's what your head coach told you. That's what I'm going to tell you. The guy's hurt. That's all I know. All I know is that Kirby said he was hurt, so he's hurt. We'll go with that. Here we go. Let's see. Any more other questions that aren't about that? Let's see here. What do you think of the running game today? Thought there were improvements, mostly vanilla. They actually weren't very vanilla. I mean, like we said, they ended up doing some unique stuff in terms of, jet sweeps. They did a reverse to Ladd McConkey as well. So let's see here. You ran the ball 48 times for 241 yards today, okay, on an average of 5 yards per carry and 5 total touchdowns on the ground. I'd say you ran the ball pretty damn well today, guys, and you scattered it along a bunch of people. But here's what Georgia fans are concerned about right now, right? And Zamir actually got some carries that extended this, but at half, Zamir was averaging like 3.9 yards per carry, and he's your primary in-between the tackles guy, as is a guy like Dejon Edwards, who got 10 totes today for 46 yards. So everybody moved the ball pretty well today in the running game. So I think there was some development there. But I'll tell you this, Vanderbilt's given up 200 yards per game on the ground this year. So it's not something to write home about, who knows? It's not something to be too excited about because it is a Vanderbilt defense, right? So take it for what it's worth. Take it with a grain of salt there. It is what it is. You're 4-0, and you did have a good running day today on the ground. So that's good. I see a bunch of great job, go Dogs, stuff like that. DJ Kylie asked, my boy Dan said, did you like any of the new offensive line combinations? Look, I really need Broderick Jones to grab the reins of something. I really do. I see, and some of the guys in the YouTube comments during our live stream pointed it out. There's a high level of up and down with his level of play. There's just no consistency. There's very little like, oh my God, that guy's physical type stuff going on, right? Like when I see him losing blocks, see him kind of just losing blocks, right? Just letting it go, not finishing, not doing stuff like that. That can't happen. But I did like what it looked like when he was in there. Okay. They moved the ball really well when he was in there, but they moved the ball really well when everyone was in there today. So it's hard for me to tell upon live watch what I liked, what I didn't like in terms of offensive line combinations. But I personally do like the Broderick, Jamari, Cedric, Justin Schaefer, Warren McClendon. Personally, on paper, that's my favorite line right there, but we still haven't seen it for a full game, so it doesn't really mean much there. Is this a prove-it year for Matt Luke, or does he get more time in your opinion? Guys, they're happy with offensive line production. They are. I have not heard anything about, why would it be a prove-it year? It's really his second full year as the offensive line coach, and I'm here to tell you guys, who you going to go get, right? I know you're the University of Georgia, right? You are. You're the University of Georgia, which means outside of Alabama, and I guess you could say if a job ever opens at Clemson, because they keep their assistants better than any other program in the country, if a job opens at either one of those programs, yeah, maybe that you've got, some competition, right? But what candidate are you going to go get? It's like, oh yeah, a big improvement on a guy like Matt Luke, who, guys, recruits really, really well, and not just the offensive line position. He's your lead recruiter for Arch Manning right now. You probably don't want to let that guy go, right? You probably don't want to let that guy go, anytime soon for that reason and that reason alone. So I'm fine with it. I've seen some progression of this offensive line. It might be slow. It might not be what you guys want. You guys want overnight success and overnight change and drastic improvements. It's not that right now, but I see week in, week out improvements. I saw it last year. I'm seeing it this year. I'm seeing an offensive line that every week is getting 1%, 2%, 5% better week in and week out. And that's all you can really ask for a coach, right? Brock Van der Grieg get redshirt this year to preserve eligibility. Yeah, I don't think there was any doubt about that. And it's actually something I talked to, Brock about last year when he was in high school. It's like, hey man, look at the quarterback room. Are you comfortable redshirt? He's like, oh yeah. I mean, I want a redshirt. Honestly, I want to learn the playbook. I want to learn the system. I want to learn what it means like to be a college football player. And playing time will take care of itself down the road. That's a mature kid. I mean, that's a guy that's a little bit rare in terms of his thought process. So yeah, I think you're going to see a bunch of development from him in year 2. Thanks to this redshirt year. So there you go. Anthony Spano says, hope recruits and players never, ever, ever, and I mean ever, read comments from some of our fan base. It is quite pathetic how many coaches feel the need to be negative. Look, I said this in our live stream, Anthony, about fans in general. Look, I don't carry fandom. I never have. I carried some fandom for number 6 right there, who wears 23 now and plays in Los Angeles. But he plays on the West Coast now, and it's really, really hard for me to stay up and locked into an NBA game on the West Coast, at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I don't really carry fandom anymore. But I understand that with fandom comes irrational thought process, and an irrational thinking and irrational actions, right? That's what you're seeing a lot of on social media. That's what it is, right? I can type up my thoughts and opinions and I can hit send and people are going to read it. So you're going to see some sensationalism. You're going to see some irrationalism over there on social media. So do I think, recruits watch it? Do they read it? Yeah, probably, but they've been reading it for decades, or as long as social media has existed. And guess what? You've recruited pretty damn well, so they must not be paying attention to it that much. But here's what I would think about it as, and I'm not a young football player, but if I were talking to a young football player right now, if they're watching it, they're like, "Hey, what's going on with Georgia's fan base? Why are they winning 62-0 and seem to be unhappy on social media?" And I'll tell them, look, they're fanatical, right? They're very, very passionate about the University of Georgia. They love Georgia football. That behooves you as a football player, especially in the days of NIL, right? Because just as fast as they're going to go to Twitter and be upset because Carson Beck didn't get to throw the ball as many times as they wanted him to today and they want to see him play, well, they're going to be just as passionate about that as selling out Louis Scene's clothing line, right? He put out shirts, the end of last week? They were sold out by Sunday. That's you guys. That's the same guys that are tweeting again about, where in the hell is Kendrick Melton? Why is he not playing? What's going on? Why can't we run the ball on 4th down? Whoa. Yeah, all of them. It's all congruent. It all works off one another. So there. That's my thoughts on that. Let's see here. If I got any of my admins in here, if y'all could, please make sure I don't miss any of these while I'm here. We won't be here long, by the way, guys. Got to do some post-game writings. How much of the run-pass game improves when Washington comes back? I think the run game improves very, very much so. I don't think he's going to add that much of an impact to this passing attack, but he's your best blocking tight end. There's no doubt about that. People are going to hear that and go, "Oh my God, you don't think he can catch?" No, he can catch. You have a weapon at tight end right now. So it might open up some other aspects of your offense. I think he's a very much more of what they're not doing right now is attacking the game or attacking the defense vertically through the middle of the field. He provides that for sure. So let's see here. All right. That's going to be it. For conclusion, a great win, a win that you should be satisfied with. And again, to me, this is a box that Georgia is checking in the college football world today with the 4-team playoff. We're not to the 12-team yet. You can't have slip-ups. This football team looks like they're not going to have one of those, right? They're not going to have a game, 11 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock local time start on the road, 35.5-point favorite, right? They're not going to have that. where they just don't show up. They lay an egg in the first half and have to wake up in the second half, right? They're not going to have an Ohio State Akron like last week, or Ohio State Tulsa, whoever it was, where they're sleepwalking for 3 quarters and then they're like, oh, crap, guys, we need to wake up and play football today. That's not going to happen with this Georgia football team. So that, again, that's a sign of championship football teams. That's what they look like. They show up, they handle their business, and in the words of Kirby Smart, they play to the standard. They play to beat everybody, not just beat somebody, right? So that is it. Appreciate you guys for these post-game thoughts. I'm probably going to do this a little bit more often, especially for these noon kicks. Ain't anything else to do right now. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time.